the nature of your emergency?
Welcome back to the Tactical Living Podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Wilton, joined by Sergeant Wilton. Clint, how are you?
I'm good.
You know, when you're at work as a police officer, something that I noticed is just how awesome it is that you develop the skills to be a fact finder. And a part of fact finding is that you like to get to the point. So if you have a subject and you're interacting with them and you need information, you know what you're looking for, or maybe you've already found the information and you have a suspect who you're interviewing, you only want what you want. And a lot of the times, if you're a good interviewer, if you're a good officer, you will stop them in their tracks when they try to veer off of it too far.
Yeah, and it's so funny because yesterday I did this and my guys were with me when we did it. And it wasn't for a suspect interview, it was for trying to get an identification process on a suspect. So we're doing it like a 6-pack lineup, and my guy, he doesn't have a lot of experience with doing that stuff. So I'm like showing them and teaching them different avenues and different aspects. And the victim was trying to identify the person, and my guy didn't know kind of what to say without like saying, okay, well, like what are the similarities with this person? And so I had asked a few questions and kind of pointing into a way of like, this is what we need answers for, but you can do it over broadly, but to get their brain thinking in the right way. And when I did that, I had my other guy kind of walk over to the side, and he points to his brain. He goes, "That's perfect."
Yeah, and so it's a really interesting concept because the longer you're in your career as a police officer, the better you should get at this. And what you might not realize is you're actually creating emotional armor. And the way I'm going to explain this is I want you to take that same concept and then go home, and you and your wife or you and your kid are into a disagreement about something and you're trying to get to the facts. If you are treating your family in the same way that you treat the people that you work with, or you're working around, or suspects, then you might not realize that emotional disconnect that's taking place during those interactions. You might have this emotional armor on still when you're trying to have what should be an intimate and emotional conversation with somebody that you care about.
Yeah, if you're not able to decipher between the two, you start putting up those walls. You start creating that separation from, your work and home life, and having those emotional connections with your loved ones compared to being disconnected from that incident, from those people when you're at work.
You might know that you're having these detached conversations at home if you give super brief and surface level responses to your partner, to your kids, because turning off emotions feels foreign to you. So I think that's a really good indicator. And also you might have avoidance of emotional topics because you're not going to have that type of interaction when you're at work. And so if you're carrying it into your home, then when family members bring up feelings, you might change the subject or just shut everything down because it's easier than to have to emotionally engage in that conversation.
Yeah. If you're being overly brief and you're not turning off that cop mentality, and I see this a lot with the younger guys in our department, and where you just see them, it's just matter of fact, just tell me what I need to know, don't lie to me, just tell me what I need to know. And then even in conversations with their partners, it's the same dynamic. And it's, if you can bring up that empathy and have those conversations, not only at work, but mainly at home, it's where you can have that disconnect because, and we've talked about this time and time again, of having a separation from your home and work life.
Another thing that I've seen is you might have over control in your house. So you are the one who's expected to be the authority figure, the one who someone calls 911 and you show up, and then all of a sudden I should feel a sense of relief. And I know what that feeling is like. And so in your home though, you might have this sort of over control in your house if you have a tactical mindset that bleeds into your home life. So this could be something like dictating routines, you're micromanaging safety, maybe even, unintentionally stifling the family dynamics in your home.
Yeah, when you're trying to control every situation, whether you're at work or whether you're at home, it's going to turn into that control methodology, and it's going to translate into other people getting frustrated at you, your loved ones, like, why do you have to have control over this all the time? And I think it starts building up that emotional resentment, not only towards you, but within yourself, to where you start setting up those walls.
I think too, emotional numbness can often bleed into your home. So there might be moments that really should feel joyful and happy or sad, but they don't hit the same to you because your brain has been conditioned to compartmentalize these emotions.
Yeah, being able to process this stuff instead of like, oh, that's nice, that's good, and having that kind of actually being genuinely involved and invested to have those emotional responses to the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever it may be.
I think too that sometimes you might intend stoicism to be the way that you are perceived when you're not at work. So because that might make you feel like you're the strong one in your home, is to have this stoic look and overall demeanor about you. But I feel like a lot of the times it can be perceived as coldness or even rejection by the people that you love the most.
Yeah, when you cannot create the difference between, your work and home life, and having stoicism, having confidence is one thing, and it's important to have at home and at work. But being able to turn off the ego side of things, I think it's super important.
We talk about transitional rituals, and it is so important to have this no matter what you do for work. And for me, all my hard work is done upstairs, and then all of my quote book work is done downstairs. So for me, that ritual, the distinguishment, is when I'm taking my laptop and all my things from up here and we're going downstairs. That is a ritual that kind of allows my brain to kind of shift into things. And something after that might be going outside, feeding all of the animals, coming inside, taking a bath, taking a shower. That's like, okay, now it's time to get to do things that are not going to be so rigorous. And I think it's important to have that kind of ritual for yourself, whether it's changing clothes or, decompressing in your car, listening to music, praying, just something that will allow your brain to signal that you're leaving work mode.
And I think, and something that I've always used is like, over time I've learned to, like, when I'm at work and I'm getting ready, like, I mean, it takes me 3 minutes to get dressed at work. And I see other guys, they're slowly, it takes them like 10, 15. I'm like, what is taking these guys so long? But getting ready, I'm putting on my vest, I'm putting on all my equipment. That's where it's like hyping my mind up to say, okay, going into work mode. And then at the end of the day, you're taking off each individual item, your vest, your uniform shirt and all that. You have that step process. You're going through it of, okay, I'm putting on the armor and now I'm taking it off. You always will have that there. You'll have that presence there, but it's transitioning your brain from going, okay, I need to think from the penal code book. Now I need to think of the home book.
And I think too, being open with the people that you're around. So if somebody is asking, like, let's say me as your wife, I'm asking like, Clint, is everything okay? Which I do often, right? Mm-hmm. If your mood is a little bit off, like I will point it out to you, and not in a pokey way, but in a, hey, like, how can I support you through this? And I think it's important to make sure that you are honest in your response. So if it's, it was just a really hard day at work today and I'm still trying to sift out of it, you tell me that and you're not going to have to, I got you. You're not going to have to worry about that anymore. And I think it's important for us to be able to pay attention to ask such a question, but then also for your responses to be open and honest with the person that you love and that you share a space with. And speaking of spaces, this is going to sound so silly, but your space, our home is our kingdom. It's our sanctuary. And you and I do such a great job at making sure that it always feels that way. Your home, when you come into it, it should instantly feel like a life form of a hug, and it should feel that way constantly when you're in it. There are some times where it doesn't feel that way, and it could be something as simple as there are things on your kitchen counter. Having a clean space, having, homey things that, for me, homey things is actually not homey at all. It's like no family photos on the walls and no carpets and very clean and modern aesthetic. aesthetic, very, very nice colors, like, but most importantly, things that are ours, things that, we have mirrors all over because I'm vain and obsessed with mirrors. And so those are things that are incredibly important. And this is going to sound really silly, but another thing is cleaning out your refrigerator, cleaning out that junk drawer, organizing your silverware. Do you really need that many utensils? Like making things easier to where you're not going to have to feel so overwhelmed with any of those little components of your home.
Yeah, having those methodologies, like Ashley was gone in a conference, and so like when I got home from work, she wasn't home to greet me like she always is, and of course that always makes it feel different. But
you had the puppies,
yeah, and but it's still not the same. So, and like Ashley's always there to greet me, but then you have those instances too, especially like. If I come home and all the dogs are sleeping, then they come up, they bark at me. They're like, "Oh, you're home. Okay, cool." Normally they're super excited. They're barking at me. They're coming in over and hugging me and wanting me to pet them. But then there's days, and it's not very often, where they're just like, "We're tired. We don't give a crap what's going on here." And I'm like, "Where's my welcome party?" Like, and it almost feels like a different dynamic, and it's really strange in that instance. It's like, what did I do to them to make them mad?
The thing that I do like about that, though, is it makes you value and acknowledge that you do have that welcome party when you do come home. Yeah. I hope you've gotten some value out of today's episode. If you have, do us a favor, drop a review, subscribe down below, and as always, know that I'm sending you a long, tight hug from my home to yours.
Life doesn't pause when you're sick. Vaccines against respiratory illnesses can help protect you and give you more playtime with your best friend. Depending on age and health status, vaccinations for flu, COVID-19, RSV, or pneumococcal infection may be recommended. Vaccines can help keep you from having a rough time. Learn more at cveep.org/vaccines-protect. Brought to you by the American Lung Association and CVEEP, fighting infectious respiratory disease.